Hello, so today we have another kind of object lesson, and last time I talked about the invention of potato chips. I had a little book out of the library about inventions, and there were some interesting stories in there, and another interesting story was how cornflakes were invented. I never knew this before, but there were two brothers who were trying to invent like a new bread, and it went wrong, so it was like a flop. But instead of just chucking out the mixture, they were able to turn it into something different than what they were trying to do. And they turned their flop into cornflakes, and that's how cornflakes were invented. So cornflakes were invented by mistake. Cornflakes is not what those brothers were trying to make. They were trying to make something different, but when what they made was a flop, they were able to use that to make something else that is nice. We just had my groceries come, and I brought more cornflakes because we didn't have any left, and cornflakes is one of our regular cereals that we have, and you can also use cornflakes for baking. I have some biscuit recipes that you use cornflakes for, and even I have a chicken, like a crumb chicken recipe, which has cornflakes in it, and it makes the chicken nice and crunchy, and it's really nice. But what we can learn from that is in Romans 8:28, there is that promise to those who love God, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. So all things, that means all things, and that means mistakes as well. So that means God can take our mistakes or the mistakes that other people do to us and work them together for good. He can use them to do good things in us and in our lives. Just like those brothers were able to turn their mistake into cornflakes. So thankfully, God does not make mistakes. It would be horrible if we had a God who could, accidentally, do things wrong, but God does not make mistakes, but people do. Even the people who love God the most and want to serve Him and follow Him still make mistakes. But God can use those mistakes for His honor and glory and for our good. So I have a few stories. There was a missionary who was in some other country, and he didn't know the language that well, but he had, I don't remember all the details, but I think he'd adopted these two boys, and so he was trying to help these boys. But because his language wasn't that good, he didn't realize that they used really bad language, and somebody who knew the language better told him, he said, those boys are using really, really bad language. And the missionary was a bit shocked, and so he tried to memorize those words so that when he heard his boys saying them, he would be able to correct them and talk to them about it. So he really tried hard to remember those bad words in the different language, and then one day he made a terrible mistake. So he had those words on his mind because he was trying to memorize them, and one day something happened and he said the first word that came to his mind, and it was those really bad words. And those two boys were watching, and that missionary, he felt sick. He thought, oh no, I'm trying to teach these boys not to say those words, and yet they've just heard me say them. So, but God was able to use his mistake for something good. And when those boys heard those dirty words coming out of the missionary's mouth, it sounded so wrong to them, and they realized how dirty those words were. And they never used them again. They stopped using them because they had heard it come out of the mouth of the missionary, even though it was just a mistake of the missionary, and he was horrified. So God can turn our mistakes into something good, which is really amazing. And there was another missionary to Papua New Guinea, and one time he had a really stressful situation where there were people coming to fight against the tribe that he was trying to reach, and he also said something, called out to one of them, but he got his words mixed up because he was still learning the language. He made like a language mistake, and he said the wrong thing, and yet God was able to use what he said, and God did a miracle, and everything turned out all right. And he said when God does a big miracle like that, it's easy to get proud, but then I have to remember all I did was make a mistake. And that is another good thing that God can use our mistakes for. He can use it to keep us humble, because how can we be proud when we make mistakes? And I've written quite a few books, and these are some of my ones for children, and every time I get them in the mail when I've just got them published, I always find mistakes in them, no matter how much money I spend getting them edited, because most of them I do get edited and then I kind of format them myself. but I always find mistakes, and I find it quite embarrassing because I want them perfect, and I try to read through them and make sure everything's right, but there's always mistakes. But the good thing is that keeps me humble, because I can't be proud about something that's got mistakes in it. So God can use our mistakes for good, and that is something that is really neat. Now, I'll show you how to sing the song.